top. Okay, then we'll close this img, which is already closed here, and then we'll also do the .card body class, and in the card body we have an h5 element. Okay, let me do this. The h5 element has a class of card hyphen title, and that is going to be the card title. Okay, so it's going to be in the card body. Then the next thing is a paragraph with a class of card hyphen text, which is also having a let's do a lorem test of 50. Okay, we save that. So look at that. I think lorem test of 50 is too much. Let me undo, Control Z, and do lorem test of 30. Okay, tab. The 50 is too much. So that is one representation of a card in our project, and the card is starting from here. So there's the card. And that card is inside this column. So we would copy this whole column here, right, containing that card, and repeat it 4 times. So we have 4 of them now. So when we collapse it, you see it's the same thing, but I've repeated, copied and pasted 4 times, 3 times in addition to the first one we created, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. But when you check, the images don't have a source, and we will not be using this source directly like this. We'll rather import the images from the top. You see there are some imports here we are not using yet, so let's delete them, and then we'll create const at the top of our export and call it images equals an array. Let's create images in the form of an array, and then each of them would be a string like this. So we are packing the images at the top here, nicely placed at the top. And because it's an array, we can reference the object, okay, with the array index position here. So it means that when the first SRC, which is the source of the image, will be a curly brace like this, and then we pass in the images square bracket in the 0. So the first image will be the first path URL we put in this quote. Then when we go to the second source, we also remove the quote from there and do a curly brace like this, and say images square bracket 1, right? That is the second image URL, because arrays are 0-base index, right? Then we'll go to the third one and do a curly brace and say images and then square bracket 2, and the third image we'll also remove that and say curly brace images square bracket 3. So that gives us all 4. You make sure you save that. but it will still not show because we have not brought in any image here. So we'll go into puzzles and go copy some images and put them there. So the next thing we'll do here is go back to our puzzles, and when you scroll, you see some images. You can always pick any random image, okay? You are not limited to anything. What you have to do is that when you click on the image, this time we are not downloading, you can just right click and say copy image link. Come to this place, the project at the top here, in between the first quote, just click there and paste, save, and then come back to the page. Okay, it's not necessary to use the same image if you can't get them. If you get them, fine. So I'm picking this also, right click, copy image link, then I'll come to my project again, click in between and paste, go back and get another image. So you see, because of my use case, I'm using the horizontal images the way I'm creating my card. Okay, so I'll copy my image link, and then go here. You see, they are arrays, so all these image links I'm pasting here will be treated as if they are object positions of the array. So that's why I'm referencing them with the images. This image variable of index 0 will pick the first link. And then let me get my last image here. I'll also copy this link and pass it to the fourth section. Okay, then you save. If you're having issues, you can always go to the project I sent to you and copy the whole image and paste and then reference it like that, and it will work. It's the same thing. Okay, now after saving this file, let's go back into our page, and you can see I already have some images showing up here. I have my 4 images showing up. Now when I squeeze to a smaller view, you can see I need to do some styling. It's stacked on top without any hassle, without doing anything. It's responsive already. When I stretch out, it becomes 2, and then when I go further, it becomes 3, right? So it keeps doing that. All I have to do is to space them a bit from the banner, then I'll get what I want. Okay, so make sure you have that. And then if you recall, we have this whole thing in the main app container, right? So we can do some padding on the main app container to shift this content down a bit and move it away from the banner. So let me go here and copy this class name. Okay, this main app class, go into the global CSS and put it here, div with a class of that. I'll give it a padding. The top and bottom should be 40 px, but the left and right should be 0. Okay, so I'm targeting that element in the page, this page. You see this particular one, I'm not using margin. Okay, I could use margin, but now margin will affect the outside of this element, but I'm rather using padding. So padding will affect the inside element. Okay, so I'm doing padding for top and bottom, but then left and right I'm not doing any padding, because already we are using the container class. So container class will leave some spaces at the edge for us. So when I save this and refresh, check my page, let's see, we should have some space in there. I'm not seeing any space. So let's make sure the way we targeted our class elements are correct. So I said div with a class of main app container, but it's not div, it's main. Okay, it's a main element, not a div element. That's why it's not working. So now you can see it's moved down a bit, right? A 40 ps value. And then let's check the mobile view as well. You see, so it's cool, we have that space there. And then we'll go quickly to the footer section. The other one has some small box shadow on the banner, so I would want to put a box shadow. And then okay, so you see now that we have a lot of content, you can see the fixed top is working now. Okay, we did not have enough content in the page, that's why it was showing as if it wasn't working. Now the top is fixed. And then when we go into the responsive view, we scroll, it does it. Okay, we can later style this and push the restaurant down a bit when we are in the mobile view. And then also we can style this nav links and space them out nicely. Maybe we can even draw some lines in them, and then also apply some hover effects on them. But then we'll go gradually. I think on Friday we'll do most of the things to complete the design before we host. Okay, so let's quickly move to the footer and add a footer. We'll go back here in the components section. We want to create a new file and call that footer.js. Then you do RAFCE, you make sure it resolves. It's always easy that way. You tab, and then at this point we want to create a container element and then add some columns to it. So we'll call the main one, we'll give it a class name of footer container, right? And then this footer container does not mean it's a container class. No, from Bootstrap. We are now creating the container class from Bootstrap. So there's it. Then it can inherit the container behavior of Bootstrap. Okay. Then we have row, and each of our rows will have columns. We want to divide the footer into 3 columns. So .col*3. Okay, so it will create a div with a class of col, and it will divide it into it will be 3 of them, right? Then the first one, we want to, in the first column, we want to put this content. So in the first column, we will also create another row again, right? And then create a column.